Hi guys, Andy N, Spoken Label, back in the house on and it's a Tuesday afternoon, no, it's a Monday afternoon, it's a long week already. Now, we're not far away from me today. We're speaking to an old friend of Speakeasy today, and last time she was with me, she was under a pseudonym of Lady Ilaria, but I don't think she uses that name, like Lady Ilaria anymore, do you, Ilaria? So
I'm a proper grown-up now,
yeah.
just Ilaria.
Yeah. Now, I first met Ilaria here, and we were talking about this on night before, back in November 2019, didn't we? When you described it recently, and we're going to be kind to these people that run this, because I've got one of them on Friends as Facebook, as a cult that wasn't a cult in Hume, wasn't it? No, that was a night. That was in the morning and a half, wasn't it, when we met you originally?
Yeah, so that was one of my first gigs.
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure what to expect from the whole like spoken word scene, and then I did a gig in town. Just it was a comedy night, that one, and I just read a funny story, and then someone asked if I wanted to be booked for this other gig, and it was so cold.
Oh,
It was brilliant, and I loved it, but I've never been anywhere like that before.
it was an experience, and
About it. Yeah, definitely an experience. I had to write.
I think it was a Zion Centre or something in Hume, but anyway, the building's gone now anyway. So,
No,
oh,
Nice.
that was it. That was it. Yeah, around the back of it. So, yeah, I remember that because we were there and Amanda was with me, and I was on to get been asked to read a piece out from Remembrance Sunday that morning, and I remember that, and such a sensitive piece it was. And then the next time you saw me really read it, your night was to come on to in a bit, and you could rip me over that as well. But I was launching F bomb after F bomb on stage, and I don't normally do that. So anyway, Larry, this is about you, of course. Now, well, obviously you were on originally. People wondering on a release episode back in January 2020. So obviously, tell us very briefly, because there's a lot I want to talk about today about obviously about your background as a storyteller first of all. Then.
So I now work as a family storyteller. So I go into like schools and libraries and art centres and theatres and stuff, and that's my proper job now. So I'll go in and I'll deliver family storytelling sessions, where I'll do the funny family stories with all my puppets and the scenery, and I'll do storytelling workshops as well. So the last time we would have spoken on your podcast, I wasn't doing that. That's like evolved since. But
Yeah.
I've always led creative workshops for family, but more sort of like attached to like drama schools and drama academies and stuff. And it's been in the last sort of year that I've officially become like a professional storyteller. So that's become my job now.
Which is brilliant. It's brilliant to hear that. I knew straight when I first met you a couple of years ago. I knew you were going to head in that direction, and no, it's great to see that because I want to touch on. I really want to talk about your book today, anyway. But
yeah.
obviously, we'll come. But I want to ask you very briefly first of all, because obviously, when we spoke originally, you were down for doing your couple of shows, weren't you, in Manchester on Lady Ilaria's Draws, which you were then going to go to Camden Fringe Festival with, weren't you? So. But obviously, lockdown came along and that delayed it somewhat. So tell us about how that went in Camden, first of all.
So I was due to be doing that in the year that we went to lockdown, like you said. So I did my previews in Manchester. I did those in the February, and other shows were booked in to like tweak and refine and all this to then go to Camden in August 2020. Obviously that didn't happen, so that was all delayed. But then I did go to Camden Fringe in 2021, so I went the following year, and that was lovely. It was kind of in that mid phase of some gigs had started back, some hadn't. There was still loads of Zoom, so it did feel very like overwhelming being in London doing my show, but it was brilliant. It was great, and it's made me really want to write another show. So I'm working on another one at the moment, that I've kind of got a lot of the stories for, and I'll be like reworking on those, and I'll be doing some previews and stuff over the next few months, really, getting that all ready. So
Brilliant,
yeah,
brilliant.
constantly writing, really. But when we first met to record on your podcast, I was all hopeful for doing Camden Fringe 2020. But what a fool I was, eh? Look what was around the corner.
Oh
But
yeah, we just didn't know. Didn't know, yeah.
yeah,
God.
no idea. So I was stuck in that thing of I was doing some comedy nights that it didn't suit a storyteller. Then I was doing some poetry nights, but I didn't really know any nights yet. And yeah, I just didn't really know. I didn't really know anything about the scene, so I was just kind of trying to do my own thing. So in the last couple of years, I've just just followed loads of people on Instagram, and that's the best way to find out about nights, isn't it? And other poets are so generous in letting you know about nights. But in the meantime, I've carried on writing loads. So that's the thing. I've realised I just need to just constantly be writing, and then when the gigs come up, you can do a good gig. It doesn't need to be that I'm doing a story that, oh, I don't really like this one, but oh, I'll read that. I can go in and do something that I'm dead proud of, that I've rewritten loads, and yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, you have, because it's obviously we talk about the Manchester spoken word scene. It has changed a lot since lockdown opened up again last year, I think. And you've set a niche for it really with the storytelling side, I think, because there certainly wasn't many nights before your night, just stories when you launched it. Was it earlier on this year, was it? Or I don't think it was last year, was it?
I started it in summertime, or like springtime.
Yeah.
There's a couple of true storytelling nights where people can go and they can tell like a true story. So there's long story short, there's heard storytelling. But with long story short, it's not just the art of storytelling. It's like you can go and you can tell a story in whatever way you want. So there are some people that they'll do like a song or a poem, or so there's you get like a variety of acts there. Whereas I wanted a night that was dedicated to like the art of storytelling, and it doesn't have to be a true story. Like you and Amanda have come along and done like flash fiction, and do you know what I mean? People come along and done sci-fi. So the idea is that you just come and you tell a story. It doesn't have to be true. So yeah, I wanted to do that because I love poets and I love spoken word nights, but I'm always the odd one out. So I wanted you lot to be odd for a night, and then I can
What you probably don't realise is I don't want to write poetry nowadays. I've kind of just gone into flash fiction now and prose, so I've gone the other way altogether. So I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, it's just where it's gone, to us, like I said. So I've always believed with creativity, it moves in directions you're not expecting sometimes. That's why, because over lockdown, me and Amanda were running like a Zoom writing group with a couple of people at our speakeasy regulars, and it just kind of went in that direction naturally. When I managed to find myself a voice I liked, and I just kept doing it.
Yeah, and that'll evolve again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You might go
crazy
poetry, or you'll find another genre, or you just it'll always change, won't it?
Yeah, I think. Obviously, I want to talk about you more than me because I could talk all day. And you know I can, right? Well, obviously, tell us about then. Obviously, you said you got into you do more like your teaching nowadays, don't you? So did you?
I wouldn't say teaching. I don't know.
Okay, let's change.
Don't you be slagging off these teachers?
Let's rephrase that. Yes, okay. Professional storytelling then. So obviously, what when we've obviously first met a couple of years, I know you weren't doing that at the time, but how has that developed for you over the last since you started doing it then?
So I've always liked working with families and children and stuff, but I was a teacher at Stagecoach, which is like a drama school for children to go to. And I was only doing that on a weekend, and then the rest of the time I was a promo girl. I was doing things like handing out cough sweets at the train station, and new samples for new energy drinks. And it wasn't what I wanted to do, but it was I was doing that and then writing. And then during lockdown, it was the perfect opportunity to really focus on writing. So I think I just really made the most of having that time at home. And I was asked by a couple of organisations I'd worked for in the past, got in touch with me to ask if I'd write them a story. So they commissioned a story, and I was like, oh my God, my first commission for an adult story. And they were like, no, a kid one. And I was like, and that isn't what I was doing. So I looked around my house, and I had the rubber chicken that I use in the adult show.
Oh, yeah.
I had him. I had this little mouse that was like to symbolise a dead pet story that I've got. That's like one that I love that story. So I had that little mouse, and I had this little monkey, Albert, he's part of a story that I do about Flamingo Land that I went through as a child. So I had these, and I was like, I emailed them back, and I was like, yeah, I've got a story. Yep, sorted. Bye. And then I was like, oh, what do I do? So I had all these little props that were for the adult show. That rubber chicken is used in a very perverted context in the adult show.
Well, we won't go into that, will we?
Oh,
so
no.
let's move. Change topics.
they became little crazy housemates that all lived in this little cottage in Honeypot Village. And then I got an artist to make me a backdrop, and that just went really well. And then I really put in the time to speak to other people that are like children's poets and children's storytellers, and that led on to loads of work. And suddenly I was doing work for the Lowry, for Z Arts, for Trafford Libraries. So I am so glad that I was commissioned to do that first one, because it led on to so much lovely stuff.
Oh no, brilliant, mate!
Yeah.
I'm really made up for you that one, because people will obviously know me and Amanda love you and your work we do, so it means a lot to me. Because it's always nice when you see people that we generally like. Actually, I think you're great writers getting with the success you do, and you deserved it, definitely. So now, talk about a big success. What we're here today, and if we've got here in a very roundabout way, which is very you and me. This I want to talk about your book, really, because obviously it's come out through Bent Key Publishing. Yeah, the wonderful Bent Key Publishing, obviously run by the even more wonderful Rebecca Kenny as well. Now, another big friend of Speakeasy as well, and Spoken Label as well. Because I don't know if you spotted Ilaria. She actually co-hosted, guest hosted Speakeasy last month. She did.
She loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a great time.
Yeah, it was brilliant. The audience loved her around. She really did a great job of it. Now, obviously, we're here to talk about Tales of a Confused Life today. So tell us first of all then, why the title Tales of a Confused Life?
So the producer that I work with, Michael Jacob, he's got his quotes on the front of the book. Michael has given me so much advice over the years. I've known him for about 10 years now, and he's been such an amazing mentor to me. And he produced my last show, and he gave me loads of advice on like re-edits for the book. And before I submitted them to Rebecca, I would always be like, Michael, is this okay? And Michael worked on loads of sitcoms that I grew up watching as a kid. So he's so experienced, he's so lovely, so patient, and we've always joked like what a confused life I've had. And with every story I'd send him over the years, he was like, oh God, another one, like more confusion, more like things just happen around you and all this. And we've kind of said about how a lot of the book and a lot of the show is kind of things happening to me and then me kind of accepting them and then overthinking them. So Tales of a Confused Life was kind of a joke that me and Michael had over the years. And the more I was thinking about like working towards a book, that just seemed like such a perfect title. And I think now you've read the book, it suits it, doesn't it? That title.
It's very I thought instantly it's very you, but not in the sense of like you're confused. No, it's not that. You just had because obviously I've heard you read several times now, and I knew most of the stories in this book as well when you sent me a copy of the book over. You just had a rather, I think the word is should we say unorthodox? Is that a good word for it?
Yeah, that's probably quite a good word.
I think if you'd ever do a book 2, I'd say Tales of an Unorthodox Life.
Well, there we go. I don't know if Tales of a Confused Life would go on and on and on. I'm currently still living that life, Andy.
Yeah, the way it's a great book. It really is, and it is. What's good about your book, Ilaria, is when you obviously people know you when they hear you read. You're very, very distinctive on stage, and it shows through your stories, and it transcribes just as well onto the page. It really tickled me in some of these pieces. It did. And I don't want to go into loads of them because I want people to read them, based as I always do. But the one I forgot about was The Naked Family.
Oh God, yeah, that's true. That one, yeah.
I had the feeling it was. So you better tell us a story about that one because I want people to hear that one.
Well, that's only a short one, so I can tell you that one if you fancy it.
Yeah, please do.
That one was part of like that. That could be a longer one, really. There were other naked incidences that happened involving that window cleaner, actually. But I think I always like to have like some that are kind of more like pieces, like sort of like short comedic essays, and then some that are just like really quick. So that then if I'm doing a night and or more of a festival type event, and they just want like a couple of funny stories, that's a good short one to reach for. You know, when people have had a drink and they don't, concentration's a bit lower and all this. So I like to have a few short, snappy, funny ones nestled in amongst some meatier pieces. And that's short, funny. There you go. Quick laughs. Yeah,
it does. It works really well because the book itself is a mixture of that. Really, I love the fact that you had 2 lots of trilogies, and you got your Italian trilogy. Obviously, people are knowing, judging by your name, there is an Italian background in your family, that's a big clue straight away. And obviously, like your traveller's tales as well. So when you set the book up originally, was it planned to have these in as trilogies almost, or was that
No.
wrong? Oh, ah.
No, it wasn't. I think so. Rebecca did the call out, and I already really liked Rebecca from when I'd spoken to her, and like she's just lovely. So I'd seen her about, and I thought she was great. And then I loved the whole story that went along with why she set up the publishing house and stuff. So I just, yeah, I had to get in touch with her straight away, and I just sent over a handful of stories, thinking that she wouldn't actually want to publish it because I'm not a poet. It's not really what she was doing at the time. And then the more I started to go through what I wanted in the book to make it feel a little bit more legitimate, me and Michael sat down, and Michael was like, it really is a good idea to group your stories. He was like, a good idea to have it in chronological order. So it just start in the beginning, me as a little girl, and it just finish up until me being like a storyteller, really. But that was Michael's idea to group certain stories.
Works really well, doesn't it?
Like a real book then, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I liked it, and obviously I liked as well, we had in between the section, you had a number of obviously quite personal photographs of you and your sister. Your sister kept cropping up in several of them as well, she did, and that gives it that sort of real, what's the word, an earthiness behind it, definitely. So that's like why
authentic.
Yeah, authentic, that was the word. Yeah, shit for brains today. Yeah, so yeah, authentic does it, because it made it feel more real. That's why it showed you. That's what I love about you, is like your work. You get humor at the most unorthodox things people wouldn't even dream of doing.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I think a lot of these, if you really strip these stories back, a lot of them could actually be really, really upsetting. Like, it's a lot of really horrible things that have happened. But I think as I've got older, because my mum's very funny, I come from a very funny family, but I think reframing these stories in a different way has given me, it's quite empowering actually, that it's like, I could write a book about being really sad about the Italian. But actually, I think it's quite empowering to just be like, sod him actually. Like, he is an arse, let's just leave it at that. He was probably a really funny character. So I can pick and choose the things that I want to write about, and the way I want to, like, I don't know, like, just the way that I want to present them, really.
Yeah, no, it does. You've given it your own personal stamp with it. It's a fantastic book. It really is. It was like, 'cause I've read several books now on Bent Keys, and they're all great. But yours is, because it's different, that's why. And I think it stands out. It stands out because we see your personality in everything you write on it. So definite. So where do you see?
That come with age, that.
Oh, it will. He gets my age. You'll be finding from the hip all the time. Do you have any idea which direction you're going next with your creativity?
So I would love this next show that I'm working on at the moment with Michael. I would love that show to feel like a really big next progression from the last one I did. That last show that I did, I was so proud of it. I was very, very happy with it. But in tone, it was very light and it felt quite young as well. I think the persona that I was going with at the time, of wearing like that big lemon dress, the little tiara, being called Lady Ilaria, writing a lot about childhood. I think it did feel very light, very sort of like surface level almost. Whereas for this next show, I've developed so much as a writer, and I am older now as well, and I've got a different life now. So I would like that next show to feel a little bit darker in tone, I think. I mean, I'd love another book, wouldn't we all? Do you know what I mean? I'd love to.
Who wouldn't? Right.
Yeah, I'd love to just have lots of things that I'm constantly working on. I would love to have it as an audiobook. I would love that.
I'm kind of surprised that hasn't gone for an audiobook yet, because your voice.
I don't know how to do that though.
I'll get you to speak to Amanda about that. She's the expert on Audible more than me, because I'm frankly shite at it, right? But anyway, so I've got this podcast. Any children listen to this podcast, I do apologise there, right, for the bad language.
Let's get them away.
Yeah, I could definitely scare them away. But yeah, like it's I think it's, always the creative has both said already, you've got to be constantly evolving anyway, and nothing stays still anyway. If it does, that's when your problems begin as a creative person. So definitely, like I said, I could well see you doing another show. and hopefully in the next year do even another book maybe as well. So
who knows, eh? Who knows? I am constantly working on stuff that, so I've always got enough like material for bits and bobs. So yeah, I think that's the key, isn't it? It's not like, oh, I've got a book, right, no more writing now. Well, no, because you want your next book to be even funnier, even weirder, even deeper. You just want it constantly to be a better version of your last one, don't you?
yeah, you do. And it's, I mean, when you're basically doing your living, you're writing your experiences, your stories will get funnier because you'll be able to realize what to write about more often than not. So, and I've got questions, things I could ask you, topics I could well imagine you write about, but I'm not going to ask them on this podcast. I know several things I'll be asking you about.
Another thing. Yeah, what you've said there is something that I have been thinking about actually. I think at the moment, the majority of this book is like, and the things I'm writing about at the moment are things that have happened. So they are like embellished tales about actual incidences that have happened. Whereas I would like to get to a stage where I can develop as a writer in a way that I can write about an issue, a thing, a feeling, an incident that wasn't just a funny story that happened. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Not that I'm going to become like a political writer, but I'd love to be able to write about like a bigger topic than something that happened on a train or a holiday. Yeah.
Do you ever envisage yourself writing a novel maybe when you get a bit older?
Oh God, what an achievement that would be. I think concentration-wise, in the way that my brain works, I would find that a real challenge. And I think I'd probably get lost in my own story maybe. But I'd like to, one day.
Yeah, I'm the same. I keep trying. Never quite managed it yet. But then I've got a wife that sits next. Is in our study at the moment. She's wrote about 7 novels now. She has. I don't know how she does it. But anyway, that's Amanda's story. That one definitely with that. So no, excellent. So yeah, listen, I think definitely Audible is a great version for your audiobook in the future. But anyway, that's the story for another day. So now, obviously, we'll start wrapping up on. Before obviously let you do the hard sell on the book. Tell us a bit more. We need to go touch more a bit about just stories, don't we? Anyway, so we've hinted at it at the beginning of the show. So tell us about then what is just story to people who are interested, because I think it's a great little night you've got going there in Gullivers.
Oh, thank you. So Just Stories is a storytelling night in Manchester that I host, and every month I tell a story. I start with telling a story, and then I have I do like an open call for writers and storytellers to get in touch with me, and I don't just say yes to every single person that emails over. I try to like curate the night each time. So I will have usually I'll have a couple of dates on offer at a time. So if someone's done like lots one after another, it's like, I'll have you on that night and I'll put you there. Just try and mix it up a little bit. But there's been some people that for the first event, actually, there was a gentleman that he didn't want to come and perform. So he wrote a story and I got an actor to read that story.
Oh, whoa.
So, yeah. Wow. So it's kind of like, it's very open in the fact that you can come and just tell a story in whatever state that story's in. So there's some people that they're working on something that's like a 3-part thing. So they've come along for a few, and it's like they'll do like the second part to it and the third part to it, and it's been brilliant. There's so many amazing people out there that probably feel a little bit like I do, where they're like, they don't quite fit that night, they don't fit this one. Oh, but actually this one suits because it doesn't really fit anyone.
Yeah, it's good, brilliant. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it because I'm particularly nowadays, like people know, I'm not writing a lot of poetry nowadays, certainly not performing any. I've got into everything but that, but it gives me a chance to explore different things, so it's tremendous. Yeah. So definitely, that's good luck with it. Definitely now. Yeah, it's great little crowd it is. So now, obviously, we'll give you the hard sell now. When's that night normally on then? I know it's been varying a bit, hasn't it? Because you had jury service on recently, didn't you?
Oh, God, I know. I'll get a few stories out of that, won't I?
I reckon that's your novel, personally.
It is the jury. So the next one is on the Wednesday, the 21st of November. And that's at 7:00 at Gulliver's in the Northern Quarter in the back lounge, and it's free.
Brilliant. And do you have one planned for Christmas down here before that as well?
Yeah. Oh, I should have already had this down, but look, I'm so old school with a paper diary. So I do have a Christmas one. Oh, no, sorry. The November one is the 23rd.
Oh, it's good to double check.
23rd of November. And the Christmas one is December the 21st.
Oh, blimey, Christmas week. Blimey. Yeah, it's just for Christmas, yeah.
What a little treat that would be. I might get a box of celebrations, pop them at the front, you know. No expense there.
I'll tell you what Amanda's doing for Speakeasy in a minute off mic anyway for December. So,
Really?
yeah, I know. Anyway, Ilaria, to get you do the hard sell now, to get hold of your book, where do you recommend to go?
So the book, you can buy the book from the Bentley Publishing website, and it's a gorgeous website. There's all the other beautiful books that are on there, but buy this one. If you buy any of this, buy this one as well. Yeah. Bentley Publishing, it's on their website. And look how pretty it is.
Gorgeous, absolutely. For people that just done the audio version of this, obviously can't see how gorgeous the cover is. Go on the Bentley website and have a look for the cover. It's gorgeous. Yeah. Take it from us. We wouldn't lie to you, right? So,
this is a good Christmas present to buy someone because I think, right, well, the hard sell is coming because it's like short stories. I think if you're going on a train or the tram and you just want to read one, you can. If you want to read one quickly while you've got your chips in your air fryer, you can read it. Do you know what I mean? It's not overwhelming. It's not like, right, I need to concentrate. They're just little stories that you can just read, pop down again, have a cup of tea, pick it up again. It's really manageable and easy to read. So a good present for any adult you love. Or don't. I don't care if you like them or not. Buy the book.
Okay, obviously, to wrap up, Ilaria, seriously, if people want to find out more about you, where do you recommend they go?
So I've got a website. It's a new website, actually. So that website is Ilaria the Storyteller. And I've got all information about my book on there, about just stories, the events on there, the adult storytelling and the children's storytelling. So that's my website's got everything on it. I'm on Twitter at Ilaria Passeri, and I'm on Instagram at Ilaria the Storyteller. Brilliant.
And obviously, if it's just stories, then I know there's a page on Facebook on that. Is it anywhere else as well?
Yeah, the Instagram's where it's more popping off. So that's on Instagram. It's at Just Stories Manchester.
Perfect. Okie dokie. Then what we'll do is we'll take a quick break now, and we'll let you come back to us when you read out the poet for us. So we'll ask you more questions in a minute. So. But tremendous, Ilaria. Really has. Always like it. So I love talking to you. You're so vibrant and people hear the same. So buy the book, okay? Let's do it again. Buy the book, right?
Buy the book.
See you in a minute, guys.